Dana Holt had been rehearsing this moment for 40 days. The green room backstage at the Millbrook Community Arts Center smelled like old coffee and carpet cleaner. She sat at the vanity, the pale blue book resting in her hands, a yellow bird on the cover, her name beneath the title, smaller, exactly as she'd insisted. She looked at herself in the mirror. "Steady," she said quietly. Through the curtain, the room was filling, chairs shifting, low conversation. 200 people settling in for the night. Dana placed the book flat on the table, then picked it up again. She had earned this. Have you ever worked so hard to hold something together that you stopped being able to see what you were holding on to? Welcome to Strong Mind Stories. Character-driven stories with a twist you won't see coming, and an emotional truth you probably will. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want more. Let's get into it. The morning she found him, she didn't scream. She had always assumed, in the vague way people assume things about their worst moments, that she would fall apart, that the version of herself that came undone existed somewhere inside her, waiting. She woke before the alarm, the way she often did, and rolled toward Tyler's side of the bed without thinking. Her hand found his arm, cold. She pulled it back. She sat up and looked at him in the gray morning light. Tyler. He was on his back, still. A different kind of still than sleeping. She crossed to his side of the bed in 4 steps and reached out and touched his face with her palm. She already knew. She sat down on the floor. Right there, beside the bed on the hardwood. She took his hand in both of hers. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm so sorry." She said it twice. Then she remembered her phone. The call was short. She gave her address. She said her husband was not breathing. She said, "Please come." Her voice was very steady, and later she would not be able to account for that. She sat back down on the floor and held his hand until she heard Owen in the hall. He was 9 years old. He appeared in the doorway in his soccer socks, the ones with the stripes, the ones she had washed the night before, and he stood there taking in the room. He looked at her on the floor. He looked at his father in the bed. He said, "Mom, what's wrong?" Dana stood and crossed the room before Owen could take another step toward that bed. She pulled him in close, his face against her shoulder, one hand over the back of his head. "Daddy got very sick in the night, baby," she said, and her voice broke for the first time. She felt him go still against her. "He's gone," she said. "Daddy's gone." Owen made a sound she would carry for the rest of her life. The house was different after. Not dramatically, not the way people describe in books, as if grief rearranges the furniture. It was the small things, the sound of one set of footsteps instead of 2, the way she kept reaching for her phone to tell him something before she remembered, the coffee mug on the wrong side of the dish rack. Owen moved through the house carefully, like he was trying not to break anything. Dana understood that. She was doing the same thing. Her therapist was named Ellen. She had a practice on Clearwater Street, 15 minutes from the house, and she wore the same style of cardigan every week in different colors. Brown one Tuesday, blue the next. Dana found this comforting in a way she couldn't explain. "What did he do when he was thinking?" Ellen asked, one afternoon in April. Dana smiled faintly. "He went still." "Still how?" "Like the room stopped mattering." "And you trusted that?" "Always." "Why?" Dana thought for a moment. "Because I knew he'd come back," she said. Ellen looked up at her. "That's important," she said. Dana nodded. "Yes, it is." Ellen suggested writing, not for publication, just to move the grief from body to page. Dana nodded the way she always nodded and fully intended to try it when she felt ready. 3 weeks later, she was 3,000 words in. She wrote at the kitchen table every morning, coffee on her left, a small notepad on her right. She had started the notepad the previous fall, when the finances had gotten complicated and she needed to track things carefully. Account numbers, policy names, values, renewal dates. Tyler had always handled the big picture. When it fell to her, she had needed it written down. She kept the notepad out of habit now. It was grounding, a record of what was still in order. She wrote about Tyler the way she remembered him, the way he stood with his sleeves rolled up, the way he took his time. She wrote about falling in love with him, a conference room in Nashville, his hand resting on the edge of a podium, her coffee going cold because she had forgotten to drink it. She wrote about the hard years, too. There had been a period, she called it that, a period, which was the only way she could hold it at the right distance, when things had gotten difficult between them. a business problem she hadn't handled well. Tyler setting a folder on the kitchen table one evening and sitting down across from her without a word. She remembered looking at the number at the top of the page. She remembered that he hadn't raised his voice. He never did. He was patient, she wrote. He was always patient. He said we would figure it out together. That was who he was. She reread that paragraph several times. Then she moved on. The writing became a book. Ellen encouraged it. A publisher came, and on a cover the color of a spring sky, there was a small yellow bird. The bird had been Owen's idea. "Can it be a bird that's looking for something?" Owen asked. "Sure," Dana said. "What is it looking for?" Owen thought about it for a moment. "It doesn't know yet," he said. The chapter about Valentine's Day took her 3 weeks to write. Not because it was hard to remember, because she wasn't sure at first what to do with it. She wrote about the candles, the chicken, Tyler's mother's recipe, which Dana had never quite gotten right and on that night somehow had. She wrote about the ease of the evening, the way the conversation had come back to them. Two people who had been navigating around each other for months, finding for one evening the frequency they used to share. "I thought we were finding our way back," she wrote. She stopped there for a long time. She did not write about what happened after dinner. Ellen noticed, the way Ellen noticed everything. "There's a gap," she said one Tuesday. "I've covered that period," Dana said. "Not February into March. You've written around it." Dana looked at the window. "He got sick," she said. "That night, after dinner." Ellen waited. "He collapsed. We went to the hospital. They thought it was a severe allergic reaction. They ran tests and couldn't find a specific cause." "What was that like for you?" Dana was quiet for a moment. "I sat next to him all night," she said, holding his hand, "and I kept thinking I almost lost him right there and I didn't even know it was happening until it was almost over." Her voice was even, measured. "It's strange. You can be sitting across from someone at dinner, thinking about the argument you had 6 weeks ago, and the whole time they are right there and they could be gone and you don't." She stopped. "You don't know," she said. "What did you feel?" Ellen asked, "sitting beside him in that hospital?" Dana looked at her. "Grateful," she said, "that we had more time." Ellen wrote something down. She was writing about grief, about the way near loss clarifies love. She was right about all of it. Dana's gratitude had been real. Her fear had been real. The tears she had cried in the plastic chair beside Tyler's hospital bed had been real. All of it had been real. Both of those things were true. The hardest chapter was the last one. She had been putting it off for weeks. Owen knew. He came downstairs some mornings and found her staring at a blank page and made her toast without being asked, which was the kindest thing anyone did for her that year. She finally wrote it on a Thursday in October. She wrote about a Saturday evening in March when Owen was at a sleepover. The creek behind the house was running loud with spring runoff. She had made Moscow mules from scratch, copper mugs, real ginger beer, the lime cut the way Tyler liked, because she wanted the evening to feel like something good, like an arrival. They talked for 2 hours, easy, slow, the way they used to. She wrote, "It was the closest we had been in months." She wrote about Tyler standing at the bottom of the stairs at the end of the night, relaxed, tired in a comfortable way. He had paused on the first step. "You coming up?" "In a bit," she said. "Don't stay up too late." She smiled and didn't answer, and he went up. She sat alone for a while after, the creek through the glass, the copper mugs on the table, the house around her, quiet and intact. She looked at it and thought, she wrote this exactly. There is so much here to be grateful for. Then she wrote, "I didn't know it was the last good night." She closed the laptop. She went to check on Owen's room out of habit, even though she knew he wasn't there. She stood in his doorway for a moment. Then she went to bed. In the morning she reached across and found the cold, empty bed. She did not write any more after that. The chapter ended there. Every editor who read it agreed it was the right place to stop. The book came out the following spring. Dana did the morning shows. She sat across from hosts who asked about grief and loss and love, and she answered them with the honesty she had built everything from. People kept reaching for the same word when they tried to describe her, authentic. She wasn't performing. That was what made her hard to look away from. The loss was in her body. The love for Tyler was in every sentence. She spoke about him the way you speak about someone you are still in the habit of reaching for. She spoke at grief conferences. She donated copies to school libraries. She drove to a school in Millbrook on a Thursday afternoon and sat in a small chair in front of 42nd graders and read them the opening chapter. When she finished, a girl in the third row raised her hand. Is the bird real? It's the kind of bird you see, Dana said, when you stop looking for something else. The room went quiet. She was, without having planned it, very good at this. The Millbrook Community Art Center event was the biggest she had done. 200 seats sold out 3 weeks in advance. She sat in the green room 40 minutes before she was due on stage, the pale blue book in her hands. Vanity lights. The low sound of the audience through the curtain. The smell of old coffee and carpet cleaner. She thought about Owen. He was with her sister tonight. He had hugged her in the doorway before she left, a long one, his arms around her waist the way they'd been since he was small. You're going to be great, Mom, he said. You think so? He pulled back and looked at her. Dad would think so too, he said. She had held on to that the whole drive over. She looked at herself in the mirror now. Steady, the knock came at the door. She stood, smoothed her dress. Come in. 2 people entered. A man in a gray suit, a woman just behind him. Neither of them were from the event. Badges. Something shifted in the room before a word was said. Dana felt it the way you feel a change in air pressure. Before you can name it, before you understand it, your body already knows. Dana Holt, the man said. Yes, he stepped forward. We have a warrant for your arrest, for the murder of Tyler Holt. Dana blinked. Once. The word murder sat in the room like a foreign object, like someone had said something in a language she almost spoke. No, she said very gently. There must be some mistake. Ma'am, the woman said, we need you to put the book down. Dana looked at the pale blue cover in her hands, the yellow bird, her name. She looked at the detectives. She looked at the curtain. Through the curtain, 200 people waited in warm light. The man reached for her arm. There must be a mistake, she said again. There was no mistake. The investigation had been running for 9 months. It started with an insurance flag. A policy taken out 14 months before Tyler's death, amended 8 months before, with a payout structure the claims adjuster had seen before. Twice, in 2 previous cases that had both ended in arrests. Detective Reeves pulled the toxicology file next. The concentration of the compound in Tyler's system could not be explained by accident. The medical examiner was direct about this. No allergy, no random event. A sustained accumulation that required repeated exposure over time. Reeves sat with that word, repeated. He pulled the Valentine's Day hospital file. The emergency room had been looking for an allergen. They had not been looking for what Reeves now sent the original samples back to be tested for. The results came back in 11 days. Same compound, smaller concentration, an earlier attempt that had not worked. Then the phone records. Messages deleted from Dana's phone and recovered from a second device. I need something that will make a person sleep deeply and not wake up. Can you get it? Yes. The messages were dated 11 days before the Saturday in March, before the copper mugs, before the creek running loud with spring runoff, before Tyler stood at the bottom of the stairs and said, "Don't stay up too late." The financial records came last. They told the rest of the story. The debts that had accumulated quietly over 2 years, the accounts, the policy, the motive assembling itself piece by piece like something that had always been there, waiting to be seen. The prosecutor did not raise her voice once during the trial. She laid one fact after another on the table and stepped back and let the jury look at them. The jury needed 4 hours. The sentencing hearing was held on a Tuesday in November, 14 months after Dana's arrest. She sat at the defense table in a gray blazer she had bought for a book event she would never attend. Her hands were flat on the table. She had maintained, through every stage of the proceedings, a quality of composure that her own attorney found difficult to read. Not cold, that wasn't it. She seemed to exist somewhere slightly adjacent to what was happening, present but not quite arrived. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the state would like to enter a recorded statement before sentencing. The statement was provided, voluntarily, by Owen Holt, age 10. A pause. Owen was not able to be present today. The judge nodded. The recording played through speakers on both sides of the room. Owen's voice came in unsteady, like he had taken a breath to start and the breath hadn't been enough. My name is Owen Holt. I'm 10. My dad was Tyler Holt. A pause. You could hear him pulling himself together. I miss my dad. I miss him every single day. When I wake up, I think about him. When something good happens at school, I want to tell him. His voice was already thinning. He was a child trying very hard not to cry in front of people he couldn't see. My mom used to be my favorite person. She made breakfast and came to my games, and when I got scared at night, she'd sit on the edge of my bed until I fell back asleep. A pause. I keep thinking about that. Silence. I know what they said she did. I didn't understand all the words, but I understood what happened. She took my dad. His voice broke on that sentence, cracked straight through the middle of it. He kept going anyway. And now I don't have a dad, and I don't have a mom either, because my mom wouldn't do that. My mom loved my dad, so whoever did that, that's not my mom anymore. That's not her. He stopped. When he spoke again, his voice was very small. I just want my dad back. I just want things to go back. I don't understand why this happened to me. The recording ended. The room was very still, and then, from the defense table, came a sound. Low, involuntary. The sound of something giving way that had been holding for a very long time. Dana's hands came up off the table, and she pressed them to her face, and she bent forward and she wept. Not the composed, careful grief she had carried in front of cameras and crowds and morning show hosts, but something broken and ugly and completely real. Her shoulders shook. Her attorney put a hand on her back, and she didn't seem to feel it. She had carried the story through everything. Through Ellen's office on Tuesday afternoons, through morning show green rooms and school libraries, and a sold-out theater with 200 people waiting. Through quiet evenings with Owen when she read to him and cut his sandwich and believed without question in the version of herself that did those things. She had carried it onto the bedroom floor the morning Tyler died, his cold hand in both of hers, saying I'm sorry, not knowing what she was apologizing for. The story had held through all of it, but Owen's voice had cut through every layer of it. Not the facts of the trial, not the toxicology report, not the jury's verdict. Her son, her boy in the soccer socks, who made her toast without being asked and told her his dad would be proud of her. Her son had looked at what she was and said, "That is not my mom anymore." And he was right. She knew it now in the only way that mattered, not as a fact the prosecutor had proven, not as a verdict she was forced to accept. She knew it the way you know something when there is nowhere left in you to put it somewhere else. She had taken Tyler. She had taken Owen's father. She had taken herself, the real version, the one that sat on the edge of his bed when he was scared. And she had buried her so deep under the story that she had not been able to find her until this moment in this room, with her son's voice still in the air and no book in her hands. She pressed her palms against her face and cried until the judge spoke. And then she sat up, and she listened. And for the first time in a very long time, she did not try to find a way to make it mean something else. The pale blue book is still in print. School libraries still carry it. The yellow bird on the cover. Her name beneath the title, smaller, exactly as she insisted. And somewhere, in a room with no vanity mirror and no warm crowd waiting, Dana Holt sits with the true version of what she did. Not the one she wrote, the one she heard in her son's voice on a Tuesday in November, in a room she could not leave, with nowhere left to put it. That is the one she will carry now. We tell ourselves we would know, that if we ever crossed a line we could not come back from, something inside us would stop us, would force us to see. Dana Holt crossed that line and built a career on the other side of it. She was ready to walk out onto that stage and speak about love and loss to 200 people, and every word would have been true. Thanks for listening. If you want more stories like this, subscribe.